The Four-Leaf Clover podcast is sponsored by Planet Celtic.
Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing? Welcome to the Four-Leaf Clover podcast. Tonight, we have a very special show for you all. On our last two Friday focus shows, we put an appeal out to try and find Gary Shearer. And in a moment, we'll be joined by Gary's niece, Darcy, to go over everything and see if we can help this family in any way to get the answers they so badly need. We'll then have a wee bit of what's happening, a couple of segments, and some chat about the fixture against Hearts at the weekend. But first of all, it's a very special birthday today to one of our panel members, our Paddy, down there in the bottom right-hand corner. Happy 60th birthday, Patrick. How are you, sir?
Thank you all very much. You're all very, very kind. Yep, it's been a good couple of days, Scotty. So turned 60 this morning. So thank you to everybody who sent me good wishes and happy birthdays and all the rest. It's been a steady stream. So that's the end of the 50s for me now. So all uphill from here.
Oh, you look fantastic anyway, sir. And congratulations for hitting that milestone. You don't look a day over 50, my good man. You don't look a day over 50. Andy, how are you, sir? Where are you parked up tonight? Don't give an exact location because all the fans will just appear and start bringing you cakes and things like that. So
I'm just waiting for a heat to pop out of that hedge, to be honest with you. I'm in Dundee, so I'm loading here in the morning, so parked up for the night. I've already had my Chinese and all that, so sorted, fed, ready to go.
Good man. And a big Four-Leaf Clover podcast welcome to our guest this evening on the bottom left-hand corner there. Darcy, welcome along to the Four-Leaf Clover podcast, pal.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
No problem at all. We're going to go through a full timeline of events, Darcy. I'm sure the regular viewers, the past two Fridays on our Friday Focus show, we've started off the show with an appeal to try and find Gary. We've put all the CCTV, all the posters and everything. But since last Friday on the Facebook page, Find Gary Shearer, you have now done a timeline of events which we'll go through. But the first thing that I want to do is just put up, if you can have a wee chat, pal, about the actual Facebook group. Could you go through that for us?
Yeah. So it was myself that made up the Facebook group when Uncle Gary went missing, just to try and obviously get some publicity out there because we didn't really have much. As you can imagine, because the fact that it was in a Celtic bar and stuff when he went missing, it kind of at first drew sort of the wrong attention from certain like groups and things because obviously football was involved. So at the start, there was a lot of bad comments and stuff. So I did think to myself, is this like a good idea? Is it worth sort of the comments? Some of them were really nasty. So at the start, I was like, because obviously all the family are constantly checking that page to see if there's any news. So at first, I wasn't going to continue doing it. But then I thought, from Uncle Gary, like we deserve to find out what happened. So I kind of stuck with it, and I've actually managed to get quite a good bit of publicity through it. Like it's led to a lot of opportunities. Like even with yourselves, that's how you guys sort of contacted me about things, and yeah, it's really helped a lot.
Excellent. And you can find that on Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. So it's Find Gary Shearer. So just having a look at the actual header on the Facebook page. So Gary Watson Shearer was 53 years old when he went missing on the 16th of March 2023 from Puerto del Carmen in Lanzarote in Spain. He is 5'3" in height, of slim build. The Celtic fan has black greying hair, brown eyes, with a Gary tattoo on his neck. He was wearing a green and white Celtic FC football shirt, white shorts and white trainers. Gary suffers epilepsy and type 2 diabetes. Plus he walks with a distinctive limp. If you've got any information whatsoever about Gary's disappearance, please contact the lead investigator on the telephone they are provided. And it's all on the Facebook page anyway. So please jump over to that Facebook page and get on there and get as much information as you can on Gary. Darcy, let's just go back to the beginning with Gary. Can you tell us a little bit about him, his character, what type of guy he was, just a sort of lead up before he went out to Lanzarote?
As you can probably imagine with all the photos, he's always got his Celtic top on, always just big Celtic fan, big Celtic, very loved his Ireland, all that sort of stuff. That was like his sort of the main thing he enjoyed. We'd go to the football games, every single game, like his season ticket, things like that. Just loved that. He's very, very family orientated guy. That's obviously how we first noticed something was wrong, because he would message, especially my nana, every morning and say, "Oh, good morning, how are you, mum? Good night, mum," things like that. And then when he didn't, like that night, at first we thought, "Oh, that's a bit weird," but he's out enjoying himself thing. But then the next morning again, no message. So that's when we sort of realised. But yeah, Gary's such a joker. He just loves winding people up. Like, no matter what, he would find a way to wind you up. He loves a joke. So that's one of the main things. When I knew I was going somewhere, my Uncle Gary would be there, I was like, "Oh, like, what winds up am I going to get today, or what can I say to him to wind him up?" We would, winding him up about football, things like that. He's just such a joker, he is.
Oh, aye, sounds like a cracking guy. So let's get into the timeline of events, and Darcy, and you're going to read this out for us. This is on the Facebook page, so we'll let you go through this, pal, and then we will go through everything else. So over to you, pal.
Yeah. So this is sort of the most accurate timeline that we've been able to work out. I did this through speaking to the police and speaking with the family about the information we have. So Gary arrived at the airport in Lanzarote around 2 p.m. This was on the 16th of March 2023. We know that he headed straight to his hotel, which was the Oasis Apartments in Porta del Carmen. He got there around 3 p.m. He takes his belongings, checks in, goes up to his room, gets changed into the clothes, which would be the same clothes that he was last seen in that night. So that's the green and white hooped Celtic t-shirt, grey shorts, the Nike trainers with the green and yellow trim, and a camouflage man bag. We know that Gary only took €70 out with him because he had a receipt in the hotel room, which showed how much money he got changed over, and the rest of the money was in the room. So we know that's all he had with him. And his passport, medication, all his other clothes was all left in the hotel. So he didn't have anything except his phone and that €70 with him that night. He went outside to sit by the pool for a little while. And then he was on Facebook, winding people up as he does, saying how excited he was because it was right next to Bar 67. He got recommended that from a few of his Irish friends. Because it's quite a good atmosphere, especially obviously if you're a Celtic fan, it's kind of the place to be over in Lanzarote. So he was on Facebook posting pictures by the pool, talking about Bar 67, saying how excited he was for it. And in that photo, you can see the trainers he was wearing that night, and this is the last time that Gary was active on social media. After that, there's...
Just got one question for you there, Darcy, that you said... the accommodation, was it right next to Bar 67? Is that what you said there?
So it was about 5-10 minute walk from Bar 67.
Right.
Just it's not far at all.
Right.
Because when I was there myself, I walked from like the route that he would have probably taken to try and get back to there and things. It's not a far walk at all.
Right. Okay. Right. That's fine, pal. Next one.
Yeah, so Gary was sat at the pool. He was overheard on the phone, laughing and joking with people. You know, once again going on about how excited he was for his holiday. That he'd great things planned. Going to Bar 67. He was going to the St Patrick's Day parade because he did a big parade over in Lanzarote for that. So he was, great spirits. He was really excited for it. He's then seen going back into the hotel by someone else who was sitting next to the pool. So we assume this is when he heads for Bar 67. So he phones his mum, Anne, around 5:30, where he says, like, weather's lovely but windy, going to get some food and then going to Bar 67. We're unsure if Gary actually got food or he was just saying that to make his mum happy. You know, what mums are like, making sure you always eat, things like that. So we're not sure if he actually did get food or not, but we know he went into Spar, get some cigarettes. He would arrive at Bar 67 about 6 o'clock from what we can sort of tell from everything. There was some confusion at the start whether or not Gary was in Bar 67, whether he gets served, because when we first asked, they said that he wasn't, but I just think there was, obviously it's a very busy time of year. I think there's just been some confusion. But when a few families that spoke to Gary that night came forward and sent us videos and photos of Gary, that's kind of when we knew that he was there and he spent time with these people.
Okay.
So one of the families, we've been in touch with this family quite a bit. So he was up at the bar quite a few times, so he definitely was being served in there. As I mentioned before, Gary loves like Ireland, things like that, so he was discussing Belfast with this family, giving them recommendations of places they should go, and that family was also recommending sort of places for Gary to go. They said he was having a great time. Said that Gary spent quite a while with them. He was laughing and joking away. This family left around 10:30. And they see Gary on the outside, on sort of the outside sort of smoking seating area. They ask if Gary's okay, and Gary's like, says he's fine. Family and Gary both like say they'll see each other tomorrow. They kind of arrange like to see each other tomorrow. Basically, they were going to meet up again, and then once they leave, Gary joins another family. So sat with them a few hours. Once again, said he was having a great time, really enjoying himself. But by sort of later on in the night, he does get quite drunk. So he couldn't make it. Like the stairs at Bar 67 are quite steep stairs. Like even when I was there, like I struggled to get up and down them when I was sober. They're really, really steep. So the guy that Gary was sitting with helps him down the stairs, tries to get Gary into a couple of taxis. It's free taxis, but they all refuse because Gary's drunk.
Yeah.
So the guy tries to sort of help Gary sober up a little bit so he can get in a taxi or something. But I just don't think he was having any luck with it. So he sits Gary a seat at a restaurant below Bar 67, directly below it, and sort of plans that when him and his family were leaving, if Gary was still there, they were going to take Gary with them. Obviously, the family could have never imagined sort of what was going to go on to happen that night. Obviously, you don't ever imagine something like that would happen. So they left them there. But yeah, so the family do keep an eye on Gary as much as they possibly can. When I was in Lanzarote, I actually met the guy that helped Gary that night, and he said he was checking on Gary like every 20 so minutes to see if he was still there, see what was going on. But around midnight, he noticed Gary wasn't there anymore. So he just assumes that Gary sobered up or managed to get a taxi. That means that from what we worked out, Gary was in Bar 67 from around 6 till maybe about 11:30 midnight time. So after that, we're not too sure what exactly happens, but the next confirmed sighting is of Gary unconscious. This is outside a shoe shop, which is when you walk down the stairs at bar 67, it's on the right side. So it's not far at all, it's right next to the bar. This is from families, well, individuals or families that have walked past, and they actually told us they saw him, but they didn't stop telling him because they just assumed, oh, drunk tourist, really. So no one had stopped to check if he was okay or maybe call an ambulance. So we're unsure why he was unconscious, but we know that he definitely was unconscious. There was some confusion with timings of all this because we were just kind of going off of what people had told us. But when I viewed the CCTV myself, I kind of managed to get it a bit more accurate on the timings. The last call on Gary's phone when we got the records checked was to a taxi number, but he's accidentally called the company back in Glasgow.
All right.
So he was attempting to get home, but obviously just got his numbers mixed up.
Yeah.
But it was about midnight that Gary would have, just after midnight, he would have been unconscious at that shop. So the last, as it stands, the last sighting of Gary is at 49 minutes past midnight. The CCTV heading towards the Spar shop. The shop is literally like seconds walk from where he was unconscious. So what I assume's happened is he's been unconscious for whatever reason, woken up and realised I need to get back. So he's been quite confused and just started walking to try and get back. The CCTV does show Gary with an unidentified man. We don't believe that he's had any foul play or anything. This guy's just at the moment just someone that happened to be walking next to Gary at the time. On the CCTV, I did manage to see that there was an interaction between this man and Gary. It does just look like maybe Gary's asked, where is my apartment or where's the Oasis Apartments, and the man sort of just points somewhere. So I do think that he's just asked for directions. But yeah, most likely Gary's asked for directions, the man's told him to go this direction, and I assume that he's started heading that way. But there is a blind spot in CCTV at the Spar. So it's unclear exactly which way Gary went. I do have my ideas from the CCTV, which way I think he possibly could have went, but I just don't want to say that in case it mixes up any genuine sightings of him or anything.
Yeah.
So just really need either someone that may have saw him or that man in the CCTV to come forward and say, "Oh, Gary went this way," or "I saw Gary walking this street." It could really change everything for us.
And finally, pal.
So yeah, the man is seen again on CCTV coming back the way from where they headed, but this time it's just the man himself. This is maybe 5 minutes or so after we see Gary with him. But obviously Gary's gone. There's no other sightings of him. The last sighting of him is with that man right after he asked for directions or whatever it was that was said. This is just sort of to try and give a better idea of events. Obviously, there's some sort of missing bits here and there, but this was obviously the most accurate sort of things I could put together. Yeah, the man in the CCTV there. They thought at first he was a local, but due to the size of Lanzarote and how much they've searched, and there's been no sighting of this man again, they are thinking that potentially he is a tourist, and that's why they're not able to sort of track him down on Lanzarote. That's the most sort of recent thing the police said, that they believe that man is now a tourist. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Something, Darcy, quickly.
Yeah.
You just mentioned about Gary having his phone. If the authorities managed to pull any data for his phone to do with location-wise, or last known location?
So basically, the police, it was kind of hard to get them much information from them at all, as even the CCTV, it took us about a year just to get the CCTV. The last thing they told us, the last number which he called, and that was the taxi number back in Glasgow, but there was no other information given to us about a location or anything like that, and his phone's never been found or anything.
Right.
So it's just sort of, we know he called that taxi number, and that's all the information we got from it.
Mm-hmm.
Paddy, have you got anything you'd like to ask Darcy, mate?
Not really. Just, it's just so heartrending listening to the story. It was hard enough last week whenever we didn't know Darcy. And just, my main point was, we've all been out in these places and we know exactly what they're like. And when you're having a few drinks and you're having a good time and the weather's good, when you're taking photographs and nowadays with phones and things like that, it's only within the last couple of years, and I was actually thinking, it doesn't necessarily have to just be that week or that couple of days, anybody who's been out there, just if they have been taking photographs or videos and when they've been in pubs or something, because it's happened before, where people have managed to, take their snaps and, all of a sudden then there's somebody in the photograph that they don't even realize how important it is, but listen, it's just so very, very tough listening to that. It's just very, very tough. And that has to be just an absolute nightmare for the family. Just to not knowing what's happened to him, it just must be an absolute living nightmare for his mum, for the rest of the family. Just, there's so many unanswered questions there. And, the thing is, while there's still no definitive answer, there could be people out there who have the key to all this. Somebody somewhere has to surely know somewhere, people just don't disappear off the face of the earth. You know what I mean? And, say we've all been out in those places and, that when you're out on the street at night, it's very, very difficult not to be seen. It's very difficult not to be, people can blend into a crowd. I get that. But, how do you disappear on a busy street in one of the biggest holiday resorts in the Canaries? It's just very, very tough to listen to it. And I think Darcy just deserves enormous credit for the bravery that it's taken to, to carry the fight, to keep Gary's name and keep the case in the headlines, because that's what you need to do. That's the danger with it. It's like, in today's society, it's yesterday's news. Tomorrow we'll be talking about something else the day after. So it's very, very difficult to keep the spotlight on it. And, you deserve enormous credit, Darcy, for keeping his name out there and keeping the story going. And that's what we tried to do when we got the hold of it, recently. And we just thought, we need to try and do whatever we can, to try and get, and this is, as I say, I would just again appeal to people to, if you haven't already gone back, go back into your holiday snaps. If you've any shred of, compassion in you and you listen to Darcy's story tonight, it's not going to take you much time to start and go through your holiday snaps, pull out your memory cards, your digital cameras, whatever, go back through your holiday videos, your holiday photos, and see just if there's something, is there an image of Gary? Is there a video of him? Is there an image of this man, that might be able to identify this man? But I tip my hat to you, Darcy. I can only imagine what the family are going through. It has to be a living nightmare. And, that's the kind of thing that just consumes your entire life. It consumes your entire family, because you can't function until what's happened to Gary, until you get some kind of resolution to it. So listen, you deserve enormous credit. I have enormous admiration for you, and we will do all that we can do to keep his name out there, because as I said to the guys last week, this is what it is. We're all part of the Celtic family, and that's what we do. We look after each other. If you see somebody in difficulty, it doesn't matter if they're wearing a Celtic shirt. That's all it takes for me. I have absolutely no problem walking into a bar, walking up to somebody in the street if they're wearing a Celtic shirt. Not a problem whatsoever. So it's what we do, and we look after our own, and we just need to try and protect everybody. But just a word on the the absolute scum, Darcy, who were basically leaving comments at that, especially at the beginning. You know, absolute pond life. You know, you did the right thing by just ignoring them, even though it must have been very tough and very difficult for you. But you did your best to ignore them. You know, we all have football rivalry, and we get all that. But you know, this goes way beyond football. This is a human being that's missing somewhere. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what creed or colour or football team he supports. You know, so you saw the case of that Rangers fan who was killed in Turkey there a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely tragic. You know, so you did the right thing by ignoring those, because that's the best thing to do. You deny them oxygen, deny them a platform, and you're doing exactly what you can do as a family. It's the one thing you can do is to keep Gary's name and keep his memory, and keep it in the foreground and keep it in the media. And then it's down to people like ourselves to just keep reminding people to see, because everybody, we need to know what happened to Gary. We need to know. We need answers. We need to know, and nobody needs to know better than the family, than yourselves and his mum. You just need answers.
Can I just say to Darcy as well, obviously touching on just what Paddy said there as well. Obviously, you went out to Lanzarote this year, and the case was closed. They actually just so it was a cold case as far as they were concerned. But you went out this St Patrick's Day to reinvigorate it, and they've actually reopened the case now. And I think that is down to you and your family going out and not giving up on Gary, you know, and making sure that they actually do their job and try and find out what happened to Gary. And another thing that it was highlighted on Crime Watch as well a couple of weeks ago, which is quite important as well, that the case had been reopened, especially for exposure about people trying to jog their memories about. I know it's 2 years ago, but as Paddy says, everything's all digital now. People take photos all the time, videos, and they might not know that they've got information there that could help try and kind of piece together a wee bit more about what happened to Gary. But full credit to you and your family, Darcy, for the efforts that you've been put in to keep it relevant, Gary's story, because he's a credit, absolute credit. So hats off to you.
Magic. And that's what I was going to move on to next, Darcy, was, you know, he's continuing to ruffle feathers, shall we say, which the guys have said has got the case opened back up again, thankfully. So just explain to us, pal, what happened on this second year anniversary when you went back over to Lanzarote. What did you get up to? What sort of leads did you get? Who did you speak to? Just let us know a sort of timeline of events when you were in Lanzarote just there at St Paddy's Day.
So before moving over, obviously, as you know, the case was pretty much closed. The police hadn't contacted us in a while. It was basically just radio silence at this point. So we were determined this time to go over, sort of cause a bit of noise, as you would say. Get publicity. It's very difficult, we've noticed, to get any publicity, especially in Lanzarote. I'd reached out to so many news places out there, so many media outlets, and it was just, there was hardly anything. So this time we went over. This was my first time going over to Lanzarote also. We managed to arrange, obviously, an interview with the police. That was sort of a key thing for us. Our main idea was to get them sort of looking into things again, being able to myself to see the CCTV and sort of any information they had, because that could have it made things a lot clearer. It's a lot easier to understand now, because before there was a lot of uncertainties, and I think seeing the CCTV helped me kind of. It didn't feel real before, sort of thing, but seeing the CCTV and things, it helps me sort of be like, okay, this is sort of the situation. So we went over. We took so many posters over, leaflets, things like that. Basically, just put them up everywhere. Every lamppost we came across, or any place that you could put a poster, we put posters up everywhere. A lot of people actually stopped us and spoke to us just because they saw us putting up the posters. So we got a lot of sort of word of mouth around, we could speak to them directly, and obviously speaking to the family directly maybe helps them sort of realise that it is a sort of, we're not going to give up. Like, none of us will ever give up until we find out something about Gary.
Yeah.
So spoke to a lot of people. We travelled as far as we could to put these posters up, to speak to people. I finally managed to get a Lanzarote sort of newspaper to do a story with us, which basically before there was just, no matter how many times I emailed them, it was just they weren't replying, not getting back to us. So I finally managed to do that. So that came out yesterday as well. So there's an article and an actual over there, which is kind of major. Just in general, we got a lot more publicity this time, which has really, really helped. Because before it felt like no matter how hard we were trying, it was just basically like as if it was going to a brick wall. There was just sort of nothing. So yeah, we did that. We had an interview with the police. They showed me the CCTV. They gave me a copy of it this time so that if I need to, I could look back on it. They also showed me the CCTV of Gary at the in bar 67. So I saw that. I managed to sort of, I took this book with me. It's got loads of like questions in it. I just went through that. Anything I wasn't sure about, I asked them. And basically, we sort of done our own research and things about, obviously, we found out that Gary was in the bar for a lot longer than people had thought and things like that. So we went to the police with all the information we had and sort of spoke to them. And then obviously that's when they sort of said, okay, we're going to look into this again, look into everything that you've told us, like freshly sort of thingy it. But the main issue with it is we need more information to sort of take that any further. So that could just be someone maybe saw Gary but doesn't think that's relevant, or maybe like, oh, it doesn't matter now, it's 2 years, like. But that piece of information could be all we need to actually find out what happened. Yeah, we just travelled as far as we could across the island, spoke to as many people as we could. On St. Paddy's Day, that's the big sort of parade and things like that. We had T-shirts made up with Gary on them and things like that, and actually got quite a lot of people stopping us as well. You could see sort of when we were walking past people, they were kind of like pointing to it and speaking about it. So yeah, we just managed to get quite a lot of publicity, which is a big step for us really, and even in the UK a lot more news sort of outlets have been contacting us and things like that. So yeah, I feel like we've got further this time.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And like I said, folks, there is a Facebook page, Find Gary Shearer. Please go and jump on there, and there's more information on there. You can print off, the posters and stuff. You can share this podcast. You can share the stuff from the Facebook page. If anybody recognises this gentleman that's with Gary in the CCTV, could just be one person, Darcy, that's watching this, that could hold the key. And that's the whole point of these sort of things. We've got a platform here that goes out to over 1,000 people, and it just takes one person, and if it gets shared and shared and shared, then hopefully that's why we want to get you on, is to get yourself and the family the answers. His poor mum Anne as well, who must just be beside herself. It's unbelievable, as the guy said, how a person can just disappear off the face of the earth. Not just one person in this case too.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age. I don't really know what else to say, pal, but just, God bless yourself and the family. Thank you so much for coming on. We hope that this is giving you a little bit of chink of light, and you get something out of this. Just one wee bit of information, like I said. Just appreciate you coming on. As the guys have already said, you're a credit to your family for ruffling the feathers and keeping the fight going. And hopefully yourself and the family get some news, pal. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. I just want to say thank you so much again for for having me, and obviously sharing the story quite a few times even before I came on. It's so nice to see sort of a support like this from you guys, and obviously other Celtic fans and stuff. I know Gary would be so happy with it. As I said, he's Celtic daft. Like, just the support we're receiving, and even being on here, I've seen quite a few of the comments and stuff. People have been really supportive, so I just really appreciate it from you guys and anyone else that's watching and things like that.
Brilliant. Aye, lots of comments, pal. I'm sure they'll keep coming in. I know you have to shoot just now because you've got some phone calls and stuff to take. But like we said, just keep fighting the fight. If you need us, if you need anything from us, if you want any information put out, then just contact us, pal, and we'll certainly, do what we can to promote anything that you need. We're here for you, and I'm sure everybody in the comments is as well. Get on the Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen, and give Darcy and her family and Gary the support that they need. Andy, Paddy, any last words that you want to say, lads, before she goes?
I just want to say we'll continue doing what we're doing, which is sharing everything we can. Get quite a big audience in TikTok as well, so it's well over 14,000 on TikTok. So we're going to make sure we constantly put it out there, so it's never forgotten about. We'll continue to do our bit as well, and just all the best. And fingers crossed, you get some information first.
Thank you.
Paddy?
Yeah, no, just more or less exactly what everybody's saying there. A couple of guys have said that, the song goes, "You'll never walk alone, Darcy, and you never will walk alone." That's what we do. We've built up that reputation over the years. That's what we do. I say we look after each other. It's a poor show if you can't take care of your own. Take care of everybody, but especially your own, and that's what we do. As a part of the Celtic family, you're a part of thousands of people across the world. So, you're only looking for a wee breakthrough from one person, maybe a couple of people. Somebody out there has an answer to this. Somebody out there knows what's happened to Gary, or knows a direction he went, or knows a street he turned down, or whatever. Somebody's bound to know that, so that information is out there. So, with the full backing of the Celtic family, hopefully we'll get some kind of resolution for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Darcy, thank you so much, pal. Like I said, we're here for you constantly, 24 hours a day. So if you message Andy, myself, or Paddy, or even our Jerry, we're here for you, pal. And anything you need shared, we'll certainly get it out in this podcast for you, okay?
Thank you so much again. And just quickly before I go, if anyone obviously does want any more information, as I said, it's myself that runs the Facebook page. So if they just want to comment or message, and I'll sort of do my best to give any more information that I have.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Darcy. All the best, pal.
Take care, guys.
Thanks,
cheers.
Darcy.
All the best, pal. Cheers. What do you say to that? That's took me back a bit, Andy, to be fair. Going through the timeline of events.
Aye, it's really bad, mate. That is, but I think it's important that Gary's got a family that love him, and being a Celtic fan and being part of the Celtic family, that there's people out there that are definitely want to help, and that's what we want to do. We want to just help in any little way we can. If it helps to put it out there to a wee bit more people, then good. Only good can come from it. I would just urge people to just share Gary's story, whether it be share this podcast where Darcy's talking, or going to find Gary Shearer on Facebook. Yeah. Just share it, because Darcy's quite good. I've noticed she's the amount of updates that are on it all the time. It's no dormant. It's no sitting dormant. There's constantly information getting posted on it. So just continue to share it out into Facebook world, or whatever it may be, onto TikTok or whatever. Get it out there as much as you can, and try and help the family out.
Paddy, very, very emotional listening to her talking about the events. I'm kind of glad that the slides were up on the screen, because I could feel myself sort of welling up a wee bit listening to it. It was horrible. It could be any one of us. And I can freely admit, I've had to be helped home on many occasions, drunk.
Yep.
And not getting back to hotels and waking up in doorways. It's happened to me, and that, I'm sure it's happened to other people as well.
Yep.
Very, very, very emotional listening to that.
just absolutely heartbreaking, Scotty. It's heartbreaking listening to the girl. You can tell that she's speaking from the heart. And this is a family that's had a guy that's been at the centre of their family just ripped away from them. You know, guy goes out on holiday and just, you know, and doesn't come home. And as you say, Scotty, listen, we've all been there. You know, we've all been on holiday, and you know how it goes. You've had too much to drink, you've had a slip, a trip, a fall, whatever. You know what I mean? And you've ended up needing hospital treatment, or you've ended up needing to go to a medical facility, or whatever. You know, but this is what we're saying. You know, there's somebody somewhere has an answer here. You know, there's somebody, and what we said was, you know, maybe somebody, you know, inadvertently doesn't even realize they have an answer. You know, and it's not going to be very much trouble. And when you hear that young lady speak there, you know, how much time out of your day is it going to take to go back and check through your holiday snaps over a couple of years ago? You know, and as I said to you, even since that period, even just this, you know, in the very recent past, if you've been out in that area and you've taken photographs, go back and have a look through them. You just don't know. You know, there could be a picture of Gary somewhere that nobody has seen yet. You know, and somebody could be sitting on that. It could be on their phone. It could be on their laptop. It could be on a memory card. You know, so please, people take the time to go and, you know, and even if they don't listen to this podcast, if you know family members or friends who holiday in that area, speak to them, get the word out. As Andy said, it's about spreading the word. That's what it is. It's about spreading the message and keeping the message out there, because this is the problem in this day and age where so many things on social media and news items, you know, stuff can get lost and can get buried very, very easily. And as I say, Darcy and her family, they just have my absolute 100% admiration for doing what they're doing. That has to be a very, very difficult trip. How many of us jumping on a plane going to Lanzarote on holiday? You know what I mean? But to go out to Lanzarote under those circumstances, that has to be one of the most difficult things they've ever had to do, knowing full well that they're going to be retracing Gary's steps there. You know, but sometimes that can be the key that can open these things up when you can actually see something. You can walk a street as opposed to looking at it on CCTV. You know, so listen, there are answers out there for that family, and I just appeal to people to, you know, keep looking, keep searching. But whatever we do, you know, we're all on social media, TikTok, X, Facebook, whatever. We all have our own pages. You know, let's blast this out here. Let's blast Gary's face, his picture, his information. Let's get this out again, and let's keep this going for this family, because that was a tough watch. I will admit that was a tough watch and a tough listen. That lady deserves enormous credit for being so brave and being able to talk her way through all that, even though those details are very, very personal and very, very difficult. That Darcy deserves enormous credit, and she has certainly got my admiration. So if there's anybody else sitting watching this or who's a Celtic fan, let's do what we can to help this family.
Yeah, very, very tough listen that was. Again, Darcy, if you're watching back, thank you so much for coming on. It wasn't your plan for that to ever happen. You know, we just put it out the past couple of podcasts, and you know, we managed to get in touch with Darcy. Didn't expect this to ever happen, and here she is. She came on, and such a brave woman, as you all seen. So that is us. Join the Facebook group, like I said. Find Gary Shearer, and let's get this guy home. You know, let's get this family some answers, and keep doing what we're doing. Keep sharing everything that we possibly can. He's one of us, folks. You know, it could happen to any of us, like Absolutely. I said. So. Let's get this guy home. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to some Celtic matters now. Some injury news came out of the club this week, Andy. Kasper Schmeichel. We spoke about it on Friday's podcast. He got a stupid injury with this offside rule. You know, if the Lino had put his flag up, you know, we wouldn't be talking about this tonight. But Brendan Rodgers finally got some clarification on the injury. He said, we've had some news and we'll be over the course of the next 5 to 6 weeks. It's what was mentioned. But this is something that day by day we'll have a look at. The timeline that was given to us was around about that, but Kasper tends to think it might not be as long as that. Certainly in the immediate future, he won't be available. When asked whether the 38-year-old will play again this season, Rodgers sounded hopeful but cautious. Yes, I believe so. But like I said, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. So it's bad news, really, 5 to 6 weeks for an innocuous injury, Andy. You don't mind if it is a real injury, so on and so forth, because of a certain challenge or whatever, it happens in football. But I think the way the injury happened is what's pissed us all off, really. 5 to 6 weeks, hopefully he's back better. But Sinisalo, not Sinisolo, he done well against Hearts, mate, didn't he? He looks like a decent replacement. So not all bad news.
No, it's no, and that's why he's there to step in when required, just like any kind of substitute is, or backup, whatever you want to call him. I thought he done well against Hearts. I don't think he was overworked, in my opinion. At the start of the game, we were under a bit of pressure. He had to make a save or two, and he done so. So he's basically going to have to just step up. This is his opportunity. I think we spoke about Casper, about the injury, and obviously it's got tension the way it happened, but that could happen at any point in the game. He could pick up an injury. The thing I was concerned about was his recovery rate at his age with that injury, because even with a young keeper getting an injury like that as a goalkeeper, all it takes is for it to heal and then maybe go to stretch to save another ball again, or maybe go up to try and catch a ball when it's a corner or something and you're getting bumped and it's away again. So that was my concern, and I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but I think we need to be realistic and say that Casper's nearing the end of his career with a pretty bad injury. Yeah. So we do need Sinisalo to come in and do his job. But he's an international goalkeeper. We've got 2 international goalkeepers and Mr. Bain on the bench. I don't know why he is. He's one of the luckiest guys in football. He's up there with
Scott Carson,
Scott Carson, definitely. He's got one of the fantastic, perfect jobs. So he's simply going to have to step up. Casper's season is over. I know Brendan Rodgers is saying he thinks he'll come back. I don't agree. Again this season, it's going to be Sinisalo, and then we take it for there, because if Sinisalo comes in and does their business, then Casper might need to fight to get his place back at the start of next season, if that's the case, because you simply can't just put somebody out of their position if they're doing very well. Same happens with outside players. If somebody picks up an injury, somebody else comes in, and they take their place, and they're doing well, then you can't exactly just put them out of the team. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I've got no concerns about Sinisalo being in goals. I think he's quite a competent keeper.
Aye, I think you should email Brendan Rodgers, mate, and get that third spot goalkeeper, Stevie, sitting in that lorry, mate. Just take Scott Bain's job.
I'll do it. Aye. Is that meme with the guy out of Burleson saying, "I'll do it"?
Oh, brilliant. Aye, Paddy, we keep talking about this young lad as if he's, nothing, but player of the year at Exeter he was, Finnish international. Listen, the boy's not any, he's not to be sniffed at. He's a good keeper in his own right, and we've seen that in the Hearts game. It might not be such a bad thing. Get this boy in. I know this could be his pre-season, really, for us.
Well, do you know what, Scotty? We said it last week. This is his chance. This is his big opportunity. And it's not just that he's been slotted in a cup tie or against some of the lower division teams or whatever to give him a run out. He's got the gloves. He's got the jersey. This is his opportunity. And we've talked on the pod all season long about the guys like Luis Palma and other guys who failed to push Yang and failed to push Jota and these other players. So this is what it's all about. One player's misfortune is another player's opportunity, and that's exactly what it is for Sinisalo. The guy is now he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in Europe. I kind of agree with Andy. I don't like to say that I think Celtic are putting a brave face on it, but I think that's what it is. There's actually been, and what makes me think that is that there's been no confirmation as to what the injury is. There's been nothing to say what it is. So, if it's there's the only thing we did find out was there was no break. There's not been a break. It's not a bone break. So what is it then? Is it a ligament injury? Is it a muscle injury? Is it a tendon? What is the actual injury? So the fact that
if it's a tendon or a ligament or something, that's worse than a broken bone. So
and the thing is, for a goalkeeper, Andy, that's the thing. Because of his age, is this the kind of thing? Is this the kind of thing that as a goalkeeper, if he dives on that shoulder again, it's just going to go again, and it's just going to continue to go, because that's the danger with it. But I just get the feeling that they're putting a brave face on it. On the other hand, if you want to contrast that, and I've seen other players do this as well. Brendan has been given a timescale of roughly 5 or 6 weeks, but obviously in private conversations with Casper himself feels that, listen, boss, this is only going to be 2-3 weeks max. I'll be fighting fit again by. So let's hope it's the lesser of the two evils. Let's hope that it's the 5 or 6 weeks that he's been given is the maximum time, but the player himself feels that with a couple of weeks rest and then a bit of hard work, he'll be back in again. So if you look at the fixtures that we have coming up, we've got this St Johnstone game now. We've then got Kilmarnock, and then we have the semi-final. So what we've seen of Sinisalo against Hearts, I would have absolutely no fears about playing him in every one of those 3 games, none whatsoever. He did very well. He slotted in against Hearts as if there was no break in it at all. He just looked composed. He looked comfortable. And to be fair, I actually did think there was a couple of times where I thought he was maybe under a bit of pressure. And when he found himself under a bit of pressure, he just hoofed the ball up the field, which is exactly the right thing to do. Get it out of there. Don't take the chance. Just get rid of it. So I thought he was very composed and very steady against Hearts. So listen, that will take us to Easter Sunday as the semi-final. It's the 20th of April. So what are we talking? Probably 3 weeks or so. So I would like to think that by the time we get to that semi-final, Casper just may be fit for that semi-final, or if he's not fit, he'll be fit very shortly after, and that will be the first game. Should be the first game after the split. So listen, it might not be all bad. As I say, it's I kind of deduce from Brendan that's he's been talking to the player himself. He's been given 5 or 6 weeks, and the player's thinking, not at all. It'll not be that length of time. It might be a couple of weeks or maybe 3 weeks max. There's no way it's going to be 5 or 6. So let's just run with it and see what happens. But we've got a very, very able deputy, and there's no fears on my side about playing Sinisalo in any of the games that we have coming up.
Yeah, I was going to leave this till last, but we might as well jump into it now because it follows on perfectly now, actually. The Hearts game. Paddy, you were at the game.
I was.
Myself and Andy done the post-match. So we'll just have a quick chat about it now then, lads, before we finish off with a couple of wee segments we've got. So, Andy, the starting 11, the main thing I took from the starting 11, barring the Schmeichel, obviously, absence, was Naroki keeping his place, which I felt he was more than entitled to. I thought he was the only player that sort of stood out in the Glasgow derby. And, it would have been harsh on him, I thought, if he did get dropped. But the main thing for me was the bench. The bench between the Hearts game and the bench between the Glasgow derby were night and day, mate. So it was good to have the likes of Bernardo back, Forrest back, and things like that. And I said to you in the post-match show, I thought Ralston was unlucky not to get a restart against Johnson because he was doing well for Scotland, and Johnson looks a bit tired to me. I don't think he had a good game in the Glasgow derby either, so I thought he was quite lucky to actually keep his spot in the team. But what did you make of the starting lineup, mate?
I think we spoke about it in the post-match. Obviously, Narovsky coming in, keeping his place. He was I don't think it was going to be hard if you were the only player that was putting in a semi-competent performance in the Glasgow derby that you were going to stand out, because the rest of the team were absolute pish. But he did play well, mate. So he done his job. I know he's got his limitations when it comes to distribution and stuff like that and going forward with the ball. But as a defender, he does it very well. I think he's a good defender. Trusty was fit again, but he's obviously gave Big Rocky his chance because he has done so well in the previous game. So quite rightly so. I think Trusty will eventually come in. I don't think he'll stick with Big Narovsky. And whether he's got a future at the club is another question altogether. Some people seem to think he's going to be out the door. Other people seem to think he might keep him about. I don't know. That's entirely up to Brendan. Personally, I would keep him. I think there's more to him. I think he needs just a consistent run in the team. I do like him. And I think that if Brendan had any plans of no keeping him, he would already be out on loan somewhere, because he's already fired out Sinead O'Connor and plenty of other players as well out there. Just put him out to loan or to get rid of him altogether. So he's obviously kept him in the picture for some kind of reason. He must see something in him. Maybe nobody's willing to take him. I don't know. Maybe that's a problem. They can't get him out on loan. Nobody wants him. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I don't mind the big guy. I think he's all right. I've actually not got a problem, too much of a problem with a defender not being able to pinpoint passes up the park and stuff like that. Overall, I want defenders to defend. And I don't mind them if they can even pass it to the next player in the midfield who does know how to pass the ball, then that will do for me.
Yeah. We spoke about it, didn't we? We don't mind the old school defenders, your Bobo Baldys, your John Hugheses and people like that who just get shot at the ball, you know. There was no messing about with them. They weren't football players in a million years, but we don't mind those centre-halves. I know the game's changed and evolved and things like that, but hey, there's nothing wrong with the type of players. So, Paddy, yourself, mate, you would have been maybe at Paradise when the team news came out. Was there any sort of shocks in there for you? What were you happy to see? What were you not happy to see? Talk us through the starting 11, pal.
No, for me, Scotty, it was just basically, we spoke about it on the show on Friday night, and we did say that would have been the team. Although I would have been thinking Trusty would be coming back in. Although we did say that if Big Nawrocki gets a start, we'll have no complaints with that either, because he maybe deserves a chance after the way he played against Rangers. So for us, no, we were on the bus coming into Glasgow when we heard the team news coming through. And you know what? It wasn't a major shock really, because I say I had been at the game against Rangers too, and Nawrocki was outstanding. Although, as Andy said, he didn't have to be that much outstanding to be outstanding that day, the way the rest of the team played. But no, for me, there was absolutely no surprises. That's the team that I would have picked on Friday night, with the exception of probably Trusty coming back. But listen, again, it's about, Big Nawrocki's the guy with the jersey now. As far as I'm concerned, that's the way it is. He's the guy with the jersey. Trusty was out of the team. I think it was something to do with his wife, maybe going into labour or whatever. So do you know what? It's a tough one, but as far as I'm concerned, the player that's wearing the jersey at the minute and doing the business is a player in possession. So it'll be up to Trusty. Trusty may just have to sit and wait his chance again. I was impressed with Big Nawrocki again at the weekend. What I liked about him against Hearts was he was very dominant when the ball was Hearts were playing quite directly, especially in the second half, and like he became more and more dominant in the air as the game went on. He won practically every header that he went for. He seemed to be being very, very physical. And listen, you've got to give the guy credit. He's absolutely been a standout over the last couple of games. And let's be fair, the guy can't be anywhere close to being match fit. You know what I mean? He has to, because he's played very, very little. He's had very little opportunity. So he's going to need to get 5 or 6 games, under his belt till we see the best of him. He can't be close to being match sharp. So he deserves enormous credit for coming through those 2 games against Rangers and Hearts the way he's done. So no, not for me, Scotty. I wasn't surprised at all. I was actually quite pleased and quite comfortable with the team when we saw it.
Yeah, and moving on to the game then, Andy. Like I said, my good man, I know we've done the post-match show, so we don't have to go into it in too much detail. But a game of 2 halves. The first half, we didn't start too well, mate. First sort of 10 minutes, Hearts. Sinisalo had a few saves to make. Brendan Rodgers asked for the team on the press conference before the game that he wanted us to start quickly, and start quickly we didn't. But then after the 10 minutes, we got into a groove, and the Dyson Maeda show took full effect yet again. And we just blew Hearts away, mate, in that first half. And then the second half was just a canter, is the best way to describe it. I think it's the only half of football we've ever done together that I don't think I had any notes whatsoever, barring the subs coming on. Nothing happened in the second half whatsoever, except for the subs coming on. The game was won at half time, and you know, it was great to see the guys just blowing them away once they got their asses in gear right enough.
Yeah, jittery start. Eventually get into the first half. You get into it at half time, you're 3 up, the game's over. It's quite obvious that. And then Hearts' game plan was out the window. So it was a damage limitation job. And at that point, Celtic didn't have to push the game. The game was done. There was no point in putting any strain on any players. It was unneeded. And that's when you see Bernardo coming on, making his return to the team after his injury. And we James Forrest as well. Good to see him coming back in the second half. Players who might become quite important in the run-in, you know, because you've got to remember we've played enough a lot of football as well, a lot of games, these players, and find international players in there as well. You know, when players that are on the international or in the international picture are maybe having a wee break in the international break, these players are continuing to play as well. So it's good that we've got the players back for injury to kind of help out on the run-in, because we certainly don't want to see Celtic stuttering out of the line. We want to kind of sprint out of the line, and hopefully with results like that we can eventually get to that stage. I think over the last few games we've not been on it really. Certainly the start in the Hearts game, it looked like very much like the Glasgow derby start, that kind of nervousness at the back, unsure. The defenders with their communication with each other, positioning, lack of bravery and belief in their own ability, I think at times. So I'm looking forward to getting us back to being a part of Casper aside, a full strength squad for the running, because there's absolutely no doubt about it. The league's done, but you don't want it just to kind of fizzle out. You know, you want to run through that finish line with your hands raised and celebrating the right way. And then we've got hopefully the cup final to come. You know, obviously we've got a semi-final to deal with first, which I've got no doubt we will. And then hopefully it'll be another final, and whether it's Aberdeen or Hearts, I don't care who it is. I fancy Celtic. So this could be another very prestigious season for Celtic when it comes to a trophy count. So as much as we can be disappointed with some performances here and there, I think overall when you look at the full season, I think we're brilliant, and you can fling Europe into that as well. You know, so I think we've been fantastic. A lot of games played. It's been tough on the players, but the majority of games have been a pleasure to watch.
I think you make a great point there, mate. To be fair, I think we could see that in the Glasgow derby. The players were on fumes, you know. They have played a lot of games, things like that. The international breaks came. And I think the thing about that game there, Paddy, the Hearts game, that I thought, when you look back now, obviously after the post-match show, Brendan Rodgers' game management of that game was superb.
Yeah.
You know, he did bring in the guys who have been injured. The game was by at half-time. You know, you just could have headed back to the boat, mate, at half-time, and he's wouldn't have missed a thing.
Yeah.
It was one of the games, but we're no complaining about it. What we're saying is it was just nice that, you know, even Hearts knew the game was done. I don't know if you noticed it at the game, but Shankland had his armband in his horn for about 15 minutes, mate, wanting to come off. He was like, I'm done. But there's nothing for me to do here. Just get me off the pitch. Took his armband off, and nobody even wanted to off him. You know, they just...
You take it?
Nobody would take it, mate. They just weren't interested. That's what I'm saying. They down tools at half time, which was good for us in a way, because, you know, the game management side of things. But blew them away first half. Daizen Maeda, 30 goals now for the season. Good chance of getting 40, mate. No bad for a guy that can't finish his dinner.
That's exactly it. But and the other thing, Scotty, too, what I did notice at the Hearts game was that Craig Gordon was actually running the clock down. He was taking his time over every goal kick, and he was telling other players to throw ins and stuff. You know, so the game was done and they knew it, and they were quite happy to settle for 3-0. So that kind of took a wee bit of the wind out of the sails in the second half. But listen, the job was done in the first half, and I think it was James earlier on mentioned our front three, and the movement from Kuhn, Jota, and Maida. Is there any team in Scotland that can live with that movement? I would very much doubt it on their day. Just the movement from that front three in particular, and then when you look at the second half, it's great to see guys, coming on, McCown and that coming on, the likes of Bernardo coming back, James Forrest again, the evergreen Jamesy back on the pitch again after a break, so we're getting vital players back, and it looks, as Andy says, as though we're heading into this sort of next wee busy spell with Kasper Schmeichel as being the only really one that's going to be out. I think Scales might be, I think he might be back pretty soon too. So we're looking at almost a clean bill of health except for Kasper, so it's looking really, really good. But no, I wouldn't be too critical of them in the second half, because that was the sort of feeling that we got at halftime in the stadium, that listen, the game's done, and you can see in the first 5-10 minutes of the second half, you could see the Hearts players trying to basically hang on at 3-0. They weren't trying to do anything else other than just keep the score down. And as you say, Brendan's game management in the second half was fantastic to take Callum off as well and give him a bit of a breather after missing a game. But that's the one thing about him. I think we all saw again, against Hearts, Scott, you see the difference that Callum McGregor makes to the team. The guy really is the heartbeat of the midfield. You can talk about Engels, you can talk about McCown, you can talk about these other guys, but listen, I just don't think we have another player that takes Callum's place at the minute. There's not another player in the squad that takes his place and does what he does. The influence he has over the team, he keeps things ticking over, and he gets the ball, he plays it left, he plays it right, he links well with the back four, he links well with the players in front of him. When you seen for the first goal, like to turn, take the pass and turn and drive forward into the space that Hearts had given him. And what a pass to Maida. Sure, Maida didn't even have to touch the ball. He was able just to run onto it, use the pace on the ball, just position his body and just curl it in. Absolutely sublime pass from McGregor. So that's what he offers you. That's what Callum offers you. So, he was badly missed in the Glasgow derby, and it's great to see him back doing what he's doing. So listen, I have no complaints whatsoever. Yes, you always want to try and embellish the game with another couple of goals when you're 3-0 up at half time. But as you say, we had quite a lot of players. We had Alistair Johnson coming back, Carter Vickers coming back from the other side of the world, Dyson Maida. You had guys who were away playing on international duty and coming back. So listen, it was no hassle whatsoever. 3-0 was a great result, great 3 points. And again, the object of the exercise at that time was to put pressure on Rangers going to Dens Park later on that evening, and we did just that. So I had no complaints, but Brendan's game management in the second half was fantastic.
Aye, it certainly was. I just wanted to give a special mention to a player. We call it as it is in this podcast. Earlier on in the season, we got into Engels a wee bit, who sort of his form did dip.
Yeah.
And then, you seen it after that. Obviously not to do with this podcast, but he did come back and started being the player that he was when he first sort of signed for us. He got his form in. And another player for me, lads, whose form hasn't been too great recently and sort of head down and lack of confidence was Kuhn. But I thought on Saturday, Andy, he was very, very good again and back to his old self.
Aye, certainly signs there that he was getting back to his old self. Very dangerous player. And he has been off it for quite a while. And we were looking at him saying, is it he's looking at his body language, is there something wrong? Has he been a fallout somewhere? Is his nose out of joint or whatever? But he certainly upped his game at the weekend there, which is good to see, because again, he's when you talk about our front line, and we were just talking about them there, how frightening they are, but we need them to be on their game to be that frightening. You need Jota on the left, giving you the threat and getting the balls there for Dyson, or if it's McGregor, we are through pass for Maida, and then you've got Kuhn on the right, who's very dangerous, and he's shown many times this season that when he cuts in and it's like his trademark in it. He cuts in and then he beats the next player, and then you just know that shot's coming for him. And he scored so many goals for that position. But But I think his involvement in the game against Hearts was very good. So good to see him. Hopefully his form's going to continue to rise as the season comes to an end.
Aye, and Paddy, as San Fran just said there, mate, it was due to your criticism on this podcast. He watches this podcast, Nicholas Kuhn does, and no, joking aside, mate, how did he look inside the stadium? Because he looked great in the telly, pal.
He looked more like himself, Scott. He was definitely back to, more. And I have to give special mention to Engels as well. I know I've been a big fan of Arnie all season long, but I thought him and Hatate on Saturday were just fantastic. Back to the players that we know we can be. Engels just worked so hard for the team. There was a couple of tackles that he won in the middle of the field to keep the ball moving. He had to put himself in where it hurts just to keep the ball moving, and he was in there. And I thought Rio was far more like himself, far more composed, and going forward with the ball. His passing the game was much more like it. He was much more switched on. So listen, these guys are special players, Scotty. Sometimes they try these things and it doesn't come off, but the fact that they're willing to try it, they try the difficult thing. You know what I mean? And when it comes off, it's lovely. But it's just especially in the first half, it's just good to see that link-up play with Johnston on the right and Nicholas Kuhn. They're almost telepathic, the two of them. And you can also see the beginnings of an understanding between Schlupp and Jota on the other side as well. You can see that as well. You can see the beginnings of a relationship there. So Kuhn and Johnston just have this, as I say, an almost telepathic ability to know where each other is at any given time. And that must have been an absolute nightmare for the Hearts defence down that right-hand side in the first half. And then, they were switching over. Jota went under the right, and then Kuhn came over to the left. That has to be so hard to pin down. And Hearts did what they could do. But as I've said before, particularly when those front three, and if you include our sort of 4 or 5, if you include Hatate and Engels in that, our front 5, with McGregor pulling the strings just behind those two, is there a team that can live with us whenever we play the way we can? As Andy said, I think that's what the problem is with Nicholas Kuhn. We have to play at pace. Celtic need to play at a particular pace. We can't play that slow build up when we're in the final third. That's where we kill teams, with our pace and with our directness. So it's just great to see Kuhn. He was far more like himself. Somebody said in the comments last week that he hadn't kicked a ball since Leipzig. I don't know, that's maybe a bit harsh, but for me, it was just brilliant to see him back doing what he does best. He was confident. He was taking his man on. He was coming inside, and then through the middle, Dyson Maeda. What more can we say about this guy? I just don't know what more words you can use to describe the man. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I think Celtic are looking at it at the minute, and that's exactly right. Listen, we need to just pay this guy whatever he needs for the next 5 years or whatever it is to keep him there. And as I say, it's as much to protect your investment as reward him for what he's done.
27, Paddy.
We need to get this guy tied down. We need to get this guy tied down while he's still happily ploughing his trade in Glasgow. So we need to get him tied down. And his song's an absolute banger, by the way, too. That song in the stadium once. See, whenever the goal goes in, when the ball goes in the net, and that song comes on, it's very, very. What would you say? I don't know what the word to describe it is. It's unbelievable. Brilliant
Paddy,
song.
That's my mum's karaoke song, because she can't sing, and they only say 3 words in the whole song. So that's a wee party piece in the pub.
It's an absolute banger. There's no question of that. Brilliant one. I put that up there in the same league with the Stuart Armstrong song. It's legendary. That's going to be a legendary song, that one there. So and I think Dyson loves it too, by the way.
He does. Man of many words, but he certainly loves that. So he'd be good in the karaoke at that as well, actually, to be fair. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Oh, by the way, he says he's going to score a hat-trick in his next game in his post-match interview.
Aye. Brilliant. That's us, football-wise and stuff like that. We started off the show, with a very sad start to the show with Darcy on talking about our Uncle Gary. But she did say he enjoyed a good laugh and he was a joker and things like that. So we're going to finish the show off with a good wee laugh with a couple of segments. Our Andy has got his one up first, and it is...
Who's that player?
It's a player. Go for it, Andy, my man.
Yeah, so usually it's a Celtic player with their face covered up and you need to tell us who they are, but this is totally different. It's no Celtic players at all. And I want you to tell me who the player is simply by pictures that I've put up of certain objects or things and tell me who the player is. Not Celtic players, but you'll know that they're well-known football players. So here is player number 1.
Oh, aye.
That's not a good sign when you say, oh, aye, after about 2 seconds.
You just got to say what you see, Andy.
That's it.
Let's start with the birthday boy. Paddy, who have you got?
I've gone for Robin van Persie.
Robin van Persie. Scotty, who have you got?
Oh, Robin van Persie.
It is Robin van Persie. Far too easy. Far too easy. What I think is going to be the hardest one, I'll leave that last. So I'll go with this one. This is player number 2.
Oh, that's fucking genius.
Very good, Andy. Yeah.
That is genius, my man.
Right, Scotty, let's start with you. Who's the player?
It is the GOAT, Lionel Messi.
Messi. Paddy?
Yep. Lionel Messi for me too, Andy.
Aye, well done. 2 each, get that right. 2 each. I think I've made this too easy. I only done it. I had 10 minutes to do it just to add a wee bit into the show. And I was trying to eat my Chinese at the time, I know. So here is
Geniuses,
here is the final player number 3.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Thank God. Thank God I sort of recognise that guy on the left there.
I knew you'd recognise the first one, Scotty. Oh, the birthday boy's struggling. Are you struggling?
Oh, yes.
Oh, he's going to let it slip through his fingers on his birthday.
Oh, come on. Get it. That's time up. Time up.
Paddy,
no, nothing.
do you want to see it again for a wee second?
No.
No good.
No.
Not
Right.
matter.
Okay, who is it?
It's Ron Jeremy, Al Pacino, and Ron Aldo.
Ronaldo.
See, I didn't know who the first.
Ronaldo. Ron
I
Jeremy.
didn't know the first guy. I didn't know who he was. That's what I was scuppering with that.
You went to school with Ron Jeremy. Don't you lie.
Nice. That was that. Who's that? Scotty, you're the winner. Unless you want to give your winnings to Paddy since it's his birthday.
No chance.
Well done, Scotty.
How'd they
Thank
call
God
me?
I used to watch porn back in the day. Thank God I like retro porn.
Aye, a lot of the commenters get that right. That's pretty good. I'll just scroll up and see the other ones they got. Yeah. Aye. The viewers done no bad, aye. Ronaldo. Aye, well done, guys. Cheers.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
thanks very much, guys. Well done, Andy.
Thank you so much, Andy. That was...
Who's that player?
So we've only got one more segment to do, and tonight it is the left-hand side of midfield. So it's the left midfielders or the left wingers, and it is your favourite one.
Choose your boys carefully.
So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we've been playing this the past few weeks, and tonight it is the turn of the left midfielders, left wingers. If you haven't played this game before, what I do is I give the guys 5 players, and they have to give me them in their order that I give them, basically. So, for example, if I give them Jota as the first player, they have to pick where he goes in that top 5. But all the players could be of similar sort of level, or I could have a couple of red herrings in there. Let's see. So I'm sure I've all got the gist of the game by now. We've played it for a few weeks now. So first up, get your comments in as well, and I will fire them up. First up for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is Aidan McGeady.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Aidan McGeady.
and this is just purely on ability, no down to his stupid comments in the recent past.
Whatever way you want to put him, mate, for whatever reasons.
Oh, very gifted young player, man.
Yep.
But who else is in the picture? That's the question. It's a difficult one. It's difficult. I'm got right. Okay. Aye. Aye. I'm going to put him there. Yep.
Where are you putting him in, Andy? Tell us.
I've put him in at number 2, mate, which is a bit risky, but aye, I'm willing to take that chance.
Okay. Number 2. Patrick.
I put Aidan McGeady down at number 4.
Oh, number 4. So a lot of number 3s in here.
Mm-hmm.
Plunge is with you, Andy.
Yep.
Michelle, 3. Aye, 3. A lot of 3s, lads. I think they're trying to play it safe because they know what I'm like. You see what I mean? They're playing it safe.
But I think it deserves more than 3. And obviously, we don't know who the next player is going to be, so I could look absolutely stupid. So,
yeah, maybe he's not. Let's see. So, second up for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is the man who has the jersey at the minute.
oh fucking hell! Oh.
Jota on the wing. Andy, where are you putting your Jota?
I'm putting him at number 1.
Number 1.
Yes.
Okay. And he's going early. Paddy?
Yep, I'm going number 1 as well, Scotty.
Number 1 as well. Ooh. Jota, number 1. Let's have a wee look at the comments. Jamie, good to see you, pal. Pete Digger, number 2. Paul Maguire agrees with you, lads. Number 1. Wilson, same. A lot of people being a bit tentative here, I feel.
Yep.
Michelle, gone for number 1 as well, lads.
But what if you go up your sleeve? That's the thing. That is
it. You just never know, lads. You never know. And finally, Chris, so I know where I am in the comments, number 2. So next up is a player who is at the club at the moment as well. However, he is out on loan. Lewis Palmer. Lewis Palmer, away at Olympiacos, and according to the Greek guy that I work with, is doing very well, as you can imagine he probably is. Always tends to be the case. So Lewis Palmer, Andy, where are you putting Lewis Palmer?
number 5.
Number 5.
Yep.
Okay. As he went too earlier, do you agree, Paddy?
Number 5.
Number 5 as well.
Yeah.
I hope Lewis isn't watching tonight. Jesus. There might be some Irish players in here, Paddy. You should be keeping that open.
McGeady is Irish. McGeady is Irish, and he's already down number 4.
Aye.
All right. So that's what it is. You've got it at number 4. There's Helen, my mom in the karaoke. She's unreal, man. It's hilarious. Jazz has went for number 3. Yeah, I think a lot of the comments are agreeing with you, lads. Loads of them. Baroness Michelle, she's went for 4. Don't know if she's left number 5 open, actually. Tommy loves him. I think that's a bit tongue-in-cheek there. Craig's went for number 345. Yeah. something that Andy says quite a bit about him. Bit of a sand dancer. And Michelle thinks Scott Sinclair's coming. She's waiting for the dud. And maybe this is what you've been waiting for, Michelle. It is Dirk Boerichter. Dirk Boerichter. Where are you putting the main man from Ajax?
Well, Palmer's took number 5, so he's got to slot into number 4, I'm afraid. Unless you want to create a number 6, then he can get there.
Well, it might be a toss of a coin between the two. You never know with some people's comments there. Patrick.
I've only 2 and 3 left, so I'm putting Dirk Boerichter at number 3.
See, that's how this bloody game works sometimes. You've got to choose your boys carefully, Patrick.
Yeah.
Paul Maguire's went for number 4. Pete Diggers went for number 4. Tommy 5, 4. Jamie 5, 3, 4. Chris 5. Oh, Stockron Tim hasn't chosen the boys carefully there. Michelle's only got a 2 left. What have you got left, guys? What have you got left?
I've only number 2.
I've got 3.
So you've got 2 and you've got 3.
Yep.
Okay. Well, potentially. So the last person I have for you this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is Tomo.
Oh.
Alan Thompson. Absolutely fantastic player for us. Should have been England's left midfielder, left winger. For 10 years, he should have had that jersey because he didn't have one. But the snobbery of the English game, as ever, stopped him getting that jersey. So they played Paul Scholes out there instead. Unbelievable. Can't he write it? So, Andy, Alan Thompson, where are you putting him, sir?
3 is the only one I had left. To be honest with you, I'm all right with it. I'm all right with the way I've picked. I've got... do you want mine's new, my list?
Hang on the new, mate. I just hang off the new. Paddy, what have you got left?
Yep, I only had number 2, but like Andy, I'm happy enough, Scotty. If I would switch Boerichter with McGeady, I would probably be happy enough with that 5.
Right. Let's go through the comments first then, lads, and then we'll get your top 5. So Paul's left with 2. Pete Diggers played it well for me. If he's left with 1.
Yeah.
Same with Craig McLean. I think he would have been my number 1, if I'm being honest, out of the 5. So quite a few people have played it very well. Yes, he was. Number 1. Yeah, he was great at Celtic. Craig played his boys carefully this evening. Well done. I never got Chris this time either.
Well done, Chris.
You give me a challenge for the right midfielders on Friday night, aren't you? The right wingers.
Right.
And that's us. So, Andy, what did you get left with then, mate, for your top 5?
So my number 1 is Jota. Number 2 is McGeady. Number 3 is Thompson. Number 4 is Boerichter. And number 5 is Palmer. The only one I would swap, really, is Boerichter with Palmer. Other than that, I'm all right with it. I'm perfectly all right with the way they've ended up.
Would you say McGeady's better than Thompson?
Aye, definitely.
Big call that, mate. Big call. Paddy, what's your top 5?
Yep, again, similar. So I had Jota number 1, Alan Thompson number 2, Boerichter at 3, McGeady at 4, and Palmer at 5. So when you look at it there, I would probably I'll put Boerichter down to number 4, put McGeady in there at 3, Boerichter at 4, because I don't think there's an awful lot between Boerichter and Palmer. Probably Boerichter would really be the number 5, but not a lot in it. So I'm happy enough with mine. For me, McGeady was a good player, but he didn't fulfill his potential. I think there was a lot more we could have seen from him. You know, so like while he was a good player, you know, won trophies, did well. I just thought he was one of those guys that sort of flattered to deceive on too many occasions, and you know, I just don't think he ever just made it, you know, as a top class Celtic player, but a good wee player nonetheless, and never let us down.
Aye, no, bang on, absolutely bang on, lads.
When it comes to McGeady, I think you've got to remember at times when he was at Celtic, Gordon Strachan was in charge, and they didn't like each other. I don't think that helped the situation, but I'm talking about on pure ability. For what we've seen, what a player, man. I think he's turned into a bit of a wee dick right enough outside the game, but what a very gifted player, young player.
As well, Andy. Like, he had to deal with some of the baggage that he had to deal with off the pitch, up and down the country. You know, the abuse he got at Tynecastle and places like that. You know, it was just unbelievable. You know, just because the guy pumped for Ireland. You know what I mean? So he was dealing with all that as well. And you know, when he first broke into the Celtic team, he was only a young player. You know, so he had to deal with that, and that's not easy either.
Yep.
Aye. No, fair dues, lads. Aye, it's all about opinions. I love it. Absolutely love it. So thank you very much for your comments as well. That was...
Choose your boys carefully.
Paddy, wee message from Michelle there for you, pal.
I just want to say on McGeady, actually, I got a pair of signed boots off him for a cancer research race night I done, which raised a lot of money, which he didn't have to do. So as much as I say that he's not the best person off the park, he was good enough to do that.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's it. And like I said, it's all about opinions, man. He was a very, very gifted player. Alan Thompson would have been my number one out of the A5 for sure. It's like you said, it's all about opinions. You know, probably the younger team will pick Jota out of the A5, and it's just what era you were sort of born in, and your opinions. Everybody's opinion's different, which is fair enough on this podcast. So, Andy, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Paddy as well. Thank you, everybody in the comments, and thank you to our very, very special guest earlier on, Gary Shearer's niece, Darcy, was on the show for the first sort of 45 minutes. If you haven't seen that, folks, if you're late to the party, please go back and watch that and get yourself a set of hankies as well. Very emotional. Speaking about our Uncle Gary. The Facebook page, like we said, find Gary Shearer. Everything is on there, folks. That's the header of the Facebook page. So if you want to jump over and find that, please share what you can. You know, we're not asking you to share this podcast. If you want to share the podcast, that's brilliant. We're not in this for likes, shares, and subscribes and things like that. What we want to do is get the message out for the family. So if you don't want to share the podcast, that's absolutely fine. You know, there's the Facebook page there. But if you want to share the podcast to get it out there to get more traction and ruffle more feathers for the family, which is what they went out to Lanzarote to do, and they were fantastic at doing that. And thankfully, the case has been opened again.
Gary was from Renfrew.
Yeah, he certainly was. Like we said, all the information's on the Facebook page anyway, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to jump over there and get clued up on everything, the whole case, and the Guardia Civil have opened it back up again, thankfully, after Darcy and Gary's mum, Anne, went out to Lanzarote and managed to shake the tree a little bit and get it reopened. We'll be back with you on Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. The right midfielders, the right wingers for Choose Your Boys Carefully will be on then. Another couple of segments. Jerry's had Wi-Fi issues this evening. That's why he's not with us. So hopefully our Jerry will be back with us again as well on Friday night.
He was looking fantastic as well, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Very resplendent in his Celtic shirt.
Yeah, he's looking amazing after his wee jaunt over to Lisbon. He looked $1 million as well. So, hopefully we'll see him on Friday night. That's us. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Paddy. Thank you, everybody else. And we'll see you on Friday night. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail, guys.
Thank you. Mind, onto that Facebook page, find Gary Shearer. Share as much as you can. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cheers.